Representative Adams of North Carolina is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. Before I get to my questions, I do want to take a moment to address a crisis facing my district. Over the weekend, the Trump administration deployed Customs and Border Patrol agents to Charlotte, North Carolina, arriving in unmarked cars without badges, dressed in body armor, wielding assault rifles, and they actually terrorized our community. Many of my law-abiding constituents, regardless of their immigration status, were afraid to go to church, work, and even school because of the language they speak or the color of their skin. One of my constituents, a U.S. citizen, had his car window bashed out, dragged onto the street, pinned down, and put in handcuffs, even though he is a U.S. citizen. This is disgusting behavior and frankly un-American. But this mass deportation agenda is not only a moral crisis for our country, it's also an education crisis for our students and our teachers. On Monday morning, almost 27,000 Charlotte-Mecklenburg students were absent from school. That's 21% of the entire student population, afraid to use their constitutionally protected right to a high-quality public education because of the Trump administration's campaign of terror. If this many students were missing school for any other reason, I'm sure that this committee would be coming together to hold the hearing. I think it's shameful that we're not doing that. Another dangerous action that was announced just recently, yesterday, by the Trump administration is a plan to eliminate the Department of Education without the consent of Congress using the Economy Act, which is unprecedented. It's shameful that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are unwilling to assert congressional authority here. Mr. Getz, during your 20 years of service at the Department of Education, what experience did you have with interagency agreements, and have you seen any interagency agreement used at such a large scale, and do you think the agreements announced yesterday are lawful?
I've never seen anything like this. It's unprecedented. And when I first saw it and read it, I thought, well, that's why the secretary fired all the lawyers in the department.
Wow. Listen, moving these programs to agencies without experience in education policy will lead to worse outcomes for our students. I'm sure you agree with that. In July, the Trump administration moved management of the Perkins Career and Technical Education to the Department of Labor. You mentioned in your testimony that there are inefficiencies with how this administration is implementing the Perkins CTE program. Essentially, you've got two agencies working on one program. So can you highlight for us some examples where this redundancy is creating obstacles for grantees, and specifically, how has this transfer of administration and funds made it more difficult for the states?
Well, we still have states struggling to get access to their funds after 2 months after this transfer happened. I watched the 1-hour webinar that explained in the 75-slide presentation all the things you have to do to get access to your money. I don't understand why the Department of Education, which has had a relationship with these state agencies for what, decades, couldn't have transferred their information over to this new contractor. Why are we putting people through this?
Well, listen, I have that same question. Well, do you think that grantees with fewer resources like HBCUs applying for Augustus Hawkins grants will have an even harder time navigating the Trump administration's new framework? What do you think about that?
Well, I'm very concerned about the people that worked on the Hawkins program and to make sure that they continue to stay working on the Hawkins program. I'm not sure about their fate, but those are experts that really help applicants devise good applications and make good use of the funds.
Wow. So one of the important facets of a quality apprenticeship program like registered apprenticeship programs is the embedded quality standards like the minimum hours of an on-the-job training and classroom instruction. So do you have any recommendations on how to expand access to registered apprenticeships to historically disenfranchised groups?
I sure do. Last year, the House and the Senate agreed on a WEO reauthorization bill that included a $65 million Youth Apprenticeship Readiness Grant Program. I hope that gets revived in this Congress. Other things that we can do is better articulate CTE with apprenticeship. Right now, we don't really talk about apprenticeship in the Perkins Act. And if we, I think things like let's challenge districts to align their upper-level CTE programs with the related instruction in apprenticeship. Let's create a dual enrollment program for apprenticeship where young people can get credit and get advanced standing in an apprenticeship after leaving high school.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Chair, I yield back. I'm out of time. Thank you.
Representative Owens